Yeah, that's fine. Hello and welcome to the Proven 3-Year Plan for Authentic Project-Based Learning webinar, free webinar to talk about all geeky things about project-based learning, specifically how you really bring true authentic project-based learning and how you do it sustainably. So when we talk about authentic project-based learning, we're not talking about scenario projects. We're really talking about the idea that your learners are going through the standards, they're going through workshops, they've got entry events, but they're actually solving real world problems. So you've got community partners that are in your classrooms or in your schools making a huge difference. There's a huge difference between presenting to your teacher and your peers and presenting to an authentic audience. It's enormously different. Those are the things that change schools, that create cultures that are empowering rather than passive, both for your staff and for your students. So that's what we're really talking about when we talk about authentic PBL. You might wonder, is this webinar live? I always think about that when I join a webinar like this, and like it absolutely is, and say, well, how do you know? Well, because I'm a little under the weather, so we're still going to crush this. It's going to be great, but this is not the one we'd probably record and just send to you. This is the real deal. We're doing real work in schools, and this is over the summer. So a lot of our staff is actually out in schools right now doing professional development. But we also know that you might be our next partner that we're going to step into. And if you are, then this is absolutely going to resonate. And if you're looking for a one-off, kind of one-day PD to bring people to your school, you're going to find out this is not for you and you're probably not our ideal partner. But if you're looking for something that's sustainable, meaning you don't need to invest a ton of money and time into an outside agency like us after 3 years, that it's all you can train your own new hires, you have your own innovation within your school, you've got a culture that moves your students and staff forward in amazing ways, then this is the right place. We find that the schools we work with, as we invest in training leaders and teachers, that after that 3-year period, you can really do this on your own and you're ready to go. Here's our why. Our why is for today, we're going to focus on three things because we can't focus on all the benefits of PBL in your school. But we're going to look at teacher retention, we're going to look at your school culture, and we're going to look at how do you spend that investment piece. Because you can't, again, you can't be investing your entire career. Like you're gonna put that money somewhere, but you don't want to have it in one investment forever. You want those investments to go farther. You want to invest in something that becomes reciprocal, and within your staff, you can sustain that work. That's where we come up with this word sustainability. Not necessarily keeping it status quo, but you can do it on your own because you've built your own internal experts. You have the structures and the processes to do this work. So when we talk about teacher retention, and we talk about PBL, we're talking about things like Perry Township, and they're actually looking at district transformation. And some of the work that they're doing is being led by now assistant superintendent, but Jeff was a principal, and he took schools from an F to an A using project-based learning, from a D to a B using project-based learning as that instructional model. And actually, when he came to Perry, uh, he was not asked to be a PBL leader. He was just asked to be a leader of an elementary school. And it was a high performing school, actually, where some of his past schools maybe hadn't been. He was brought in to maybe turn those around and create sustainability, which he did. Now it was a school that was already an A as far as the state score. So it's like, well, what do you do there? Well, you continue to say, what's the best way that we can serve our learners? And Jeff is a servant leader, as I'm sure you are. Otherwise, you wouldn't be on this webinar. And he asked his teachers, what's the best way that we can serve our learners? And eventually they made it to project-based learning. He did not bring up PBL on his own. He didn't try to keep it in his back pocket and bring it around the corner. They found it. And then we started doing some training together, and they saw amazing results for their learners, for their community. The community perception of that school went up, and now we're looking at tackling district transformation. District has about 16,000 kids in it, about 1,000 teachers, and we're going to train those principals and teachers in PBL and see amazing things happen in that district. We're super excited about that work. There's a lot of different ways that you can engage with our work. If you want to check out the podcast, PBL Simplified for Administrators, we also have these two standalone podcasts called Binge PBL for administrators and for teachers. And some schools use the Binge PBL for teachers as their PD. Each one is 15 minutes or less, and there's 20 of them. So it's static. So 20 episodes, 50 minutes or less, you can really binge some great PBL content if you'd like. And we've got some books out there at PBL Press that we're continually publishing, and a YouTube channel if you'd like to jump in as well. Here is what we're talking about today. We're really talking about the PBL Mastery Program. And when we say PBL Mastery Program, we're talking again about that 3-year process. We put year 4 on there so we can describe what that looks like. And it takes you from year 1, where you've got your leadership being trained, you've got your teachers being trained, and what really becomes a theoretical level because you haven't actually implemented yet. So year 2, you go and implement, you have a whole new set of need to knows now, and we walk you through that. We call it a PBL Advanced. And then year 3, really looking at sustainability of the work from both the leadership side, like what are the structures, processes, maybe it's hiring processes, might be scheduling, might be benchmarks, evaluations. Evaluations can be a really tricky one because if you're asking your teachers to do something different, but your evaluation is still very traditional, you see how those are going to bump heads, and you're going to wonder why you're not getting the innovation in your classrooms because you're not evaluating innovation. So those things need to change. But as you change those structures in year 3, and probably really throughout, in year 3, we really want to cement those because year 4, now you're going to go out on your own and do this work. And we're going to give you our resources to go and do that. But you're going to use those resources to train new hires, to run your faculty meetings, to keep innovation going in your building, and really to connect to the larger PBL network that's out there. When we look at teacher retention, I've got to believe that this is somewhere in hopefully it's not keeping you up at night. There's a few schools we know that is keeping the principal up at night, right? It is hard to find new teachers. You might post a position, and even in larger districts, we're finding now that have high pay, that have a ton of positions, they might get 1 or 2 applicants. They're not finding 10 or 15 anymore. So teacher retention is a big deal. And what we find is that when you're using project-based learning, and really because you have the culture of innovation and a culture that relies on each other, a culture that is reflective and continually iterating and getting better, there's autonomy in that. There's purpose in that. And as you have those things, teachers want to stay in those types of environments. So here on the screen, we've got Kelly from Fort Wayne, Indiana, Columbia City, technically. But I had her on the podcast because we were talking, and I said, "Hey, teacher retention is kind of a big deal. What's it look like for you guys?" And she said, "Well, actually, we haven't had any teachers leave." And I was like, "What? Like, you've got to get on the podcast to talk about this." She had no teacher turnover. So we dove into like, why is that? Because she's actually close to Fort Wayne, which is a larger city, a larger school district where teachers could get more pay, but they choose to come to her school and they choose to stay there because they have that autonomy, they have the purpose. Um, they're developing mastery, right, from Daniel Pink's book Drive. They've got those 3 things that we really want out of our careers. Like essentially, I like to say it this way: teachers get to teach the way they've always wanted to teach when they're in a PBL environment that's humming, because we want to be engaging kids. We want to see those light bulb moments. We want to see test scores go up while employability skills go up. And we often see discipline goes down. That's where teachers want to teach. And what we see is then they stay. So she's just a great example of that. Here are a few more bullet points. Again, larger district that pays more, her teachers stay. PBL is the instructional model. They're continually iterating. They're continually doing PD around that. They're trying to figure out how they get better and literally have no turnover. So if teacher retention is a problem or is something you're trying to solve, we should talk. So if you go to callmagnify.com, you can schedule a call with somebody from our organization. We'll talk about what a 3-year partnership looks like and really talk about, what does it look like to develop that culture piece? As leaders, we know that the culture is important, but you've got to wonder, like, how do we do that? We've got some very specific steps that we take people through as we're growing that leadership side and growing the teacher side. They come together and you get a culture that, again, it is amazing to see a student-centered classroom? 100%. But the teacher-centered environment essentially is what happens. You provide that as a leader, that teachers have voice and choice, teachers have autonomy, teachers are getting mastery. That's where they want to be. It's really amazing to see that humming. We see some PBL research that shows that teacher efficacy is up, and they're empowered and they feel less passive, and that's when amazing things happen. Here's an idea that we think is really important at Magnify Learning. So we have no PBL curriculum to give you or to sell you, right? We're a skills building organization, and it's a very specific reason for that. We want to give teachers the autonomy and the mastery, right? So to do that, we help create curriculum creators. We give you a process and a skill set and a mindset around project-based learning. And if you look at the innovation curve, which we think is incredibly important when you're looking at full school change, or really any type of change process with people, it technically comes from the tech world, but it resonates so well to change process in the schools. If you look at innovation, early adopters, early majority, late majority, laggards, and put your staff on there, like literally put their names in there, I guarantee, I shouldn't guarantee, but every time we've done it, this happens. It looks just like those percentages you see on the screen. You can think of who are your innovators. When you say PBL, who's going to jump right in? And maybe they're already doing it. Maybe they grabbed a book or did a one-off training and they're running with it. Those are your innovators and early adopters. The tricky part comes in it's called crossing the chasm, getting from your early adopters to your early majority and your late majority. How do you get early and late majority on there? How do you get them on board? And it's a very different process. Your early and late majority, they want to have set processes. They don't want to make group contracts. They want them to be there. They want to have a planning form that we all use because it's the best one for us. They want to know that this works in your school. They want to have some examples from those innovators and early adopters they want to see an end product. They want to see an entry event. So, and then they'll jump in. They want to have solid training. They want to have a multi-day training. They want to have coaching throughout the year. Those are the things they want to see to cross the chasm. And then at that point, everybody jumps up, even your laggards. Because here's the idea of skills versus curriculum, is that when you do a skill set training, everybody moves up. Even if you're laggards who don't totally buy in, if they can bring a community partner to their traditional unit, it raises the bar for what they've been doing in the past. Because that entry event, just again, could be the same traditional setting that they do, but they move up just a little bit. And then as the culture grows, they start to get swept in with the culture and they keep moving up because it's skill set and mindset training. When you bring in a new curriculum, which can be fine, you're going to see that your innovators and early adopters are going to bounce off of it anyway. They're going to use some parts, they're going to bring in their own stuff, they're not going to use the whole thing. Your early late majority are going to go page by page. Is that really the best way to lead the classroom? Not so sure. And your laggards are only going to do the parts that they understand and that they've done before. So there's a lot of non-movement when you bring in a new curriculum versus adding skills training where everybody moves up. We're a skills training organization and really mindset training organization because there's a whole mindset around project-based learning in student-centered classrooms that's likely different than what your teachers experienced when they went through K-12, when they went through college, and what really worked for them, right? Because a lot of us got into education because school worked for us. And I probably put that in quotes because I was really great at school. I got a 4.2 and a three-sport athlete, but then I graduated and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. So it's like I went into engineering and then found out that was not the path I wanted to be on, ended up in education and absolutely love it because this is my calling. So it's like I won the game of school, but I also missed some different portions of that. So that's what we're trying to do with project-based learning is get kids engaged, get teachers engaged, and everybody moving in the same direction. On the screen, you've got one of our PBL model schools down in Florida, Babcock Neighborhood Ranch. They are amazing, not just in building, but we were there at the very beginning. They started elementary, moved to middle school and high school, and they built it out. They're in the middle of a town that is completely solar powered, the first and only one in the US. And they've had several hurricanes that have come through, and the school bounces right back. Their gym is a hurricane shelter, and you can see them there at NASA. You see kids collaborating, you see amazing spaces. They're doing amazing work. But not just work. Like, yes, their state test scores are there. Yes, their kids are coming to school and doing the right things, but their kids are also getting experiences. that are going to set them apart, that are going to change their mindset. They're going to let them know that they're empowered to go and do great things, that they don't have to just be passive and follow these rules and get points to, get said good thing. They're going to be empowered to do amazing things in the workplace. Great place to visit. If that's one place that we can connect, I would love to have you go visit Babcock Ranch down in Florida. It's a great place to start. Bring your leadership team and just start dreaming. Like, it is the place to go and dream. It's a fantastic spot to go. They're also pretty close to the beach. They are a PBL model school closest to the beach. So if that's interesting to you, that's another side benefit. So if that's interesting, call magnify.com. You can schedule a call. And again, looking at school culture, for sure, it's such a big deal. Like, you can feel a difference as soon as you step on campus there. It's exciting work. The last main point that we're going to talk about today is really investment over cost. What are you where are you putting those dollars that you have budgeted? They've got to go in the right place. They're not forever. And when we look at a long-term principalship, uh, you want an investment that's sustainable. So when you look at cost of initiatives versus investment, a cost, you pay it, you have this curriculum, it's going to run out. Eventually, you have to buy it again. When we look at investments, we're looking at you investing in 3 years of PBL training, changing mindsets, which will be changed forever, right? Creating culture that even a new hire comes in, they're going to feel that culture and they're just going to, okay, this is what we do here. And they're going to move right into that culture. The investment is getting the structures and the processes in place with a team that's been doing this for over a decade, having you visit and collaborate with places that have been doing this for more than a decade, so that that these things work and they're totally customized to you and your team and your area and your outcomes. So that if you leave and go on to another position, your work continues. That's the legacy work. Right? We see PBL environments that stop all the time. The principal leaves, it was a little too based on personality, and things are gone. The new principal comes in. What's PBL mean? And even those teachers that are advocating for PBL eventually just kind of get squished out. But if you have the structures and processes, it goes beyond any one lead teacher or a principal or a coach. That's the PBL advocate. It's entrenched in what the school does. That's the investment portion of investing once and seeing the ROI, the return on investment, over and over again. That's where the PBL Mastery Program has come from. We've been doing this for, again, over a decade, and we've built this out because this is our mission. Our mission and vision our vision is to have 51% of schools using project-based learning by 2051. So we call it 51 by 51, where the majority of graduates will have project-based learning experiences so they're ready for the workforce and they're ready to change the world. They're empowered. They've had experiences that have opened their mindset to the work that they can do and the work that they want to do. And we think the world's going to be a better place when that happens. So this is the best way we've seen how to do that. I don't know whether anybody else that's doing it this way. This is our 3-year model. In year 1, you're building out the foundational portions of project-based learning, both at the leadership level and the teacher level. So at the leadership level, what are your core values? What is the vision for the next 3 years? And how do you spell that vision out clearly so that your staff can be on board? Your staff is looking for you to launch the vision. That's not their job. They're looking at their individual classrooms. They want to know what's the long-term vision. And when you create it as a leadership team, not just a leader, it's yourself, coaches, APs, lead teachers, so you have teacher voice in there as well. When that's created, you actually create a grassroots movement. And a lot of times we think, well, you can't create a grassroots movement. That's the whole point of a grassroots movement, right? Is that it kind of comes out of the grass, right? But if you invite people in, you can have teachers that are excited about this, not just you. So now you have a co-created vision that can last out these 3 years, and people know that it's going to be supported and that we're going to continue this work. So that's year 1. Teachers are figuring out how to do PBL. They create a PBL unit for their grade level and their content area. They're going to launch it in that first semester after their training, after the summer. Year 2, you've had a year to try these things out. So at the leadership level, like, what worked, what needs to be adjusted, what is promising. Walk through those ideas. Teachers have now had kids in the seats, so their PBL units might need to adjust. They're going to want to look at benchmarking. They're going to look at curriculum maps. You might want to start looking at evaluations. In year 3, how do we get this to be completely integrated? Do you need a coach? Do you need a different schedule? Right, what are those things that are going to create systems and processes at the leadership level to allow the PBL to thrive and to create the school culture that's empowered, not passive? Your teachers, some of them are getting PBL certified, so now they can use our resources to train your new hires. Your new hires are not being trained by us, although we're happy to, of course. You get to train them, right? So they're being trained by you. Like instead of just getting the nuts and bolts of here's your email, here's the schedule, they're really getting mindset training, and those other things are easy for them. But you're doing it, you've got your spin on it, it's customized, you're using our resources that have been refined, reflected on for the last decade. This is really our framework. You can see the important portion we believe is tying the leadership training and the classroom teacher training together. That's the exciting part. We've seen a lot of grassroots movements that were awesome, but then the administrative side didn't quite get it, and sometimes vice versa. But we find almost every time when we start with leadership, classroom teachers get it. This is the way your teachers have always wanted to teach. Honestly, it's the way your students have always wanted to learn, except for maybe your high flyers, your ones that are really good point getters. They've been trained to just get points. So they want to put the highlighted word into the blank and get their points. They'll take a little bit longer to really get it. But once they do, they're they're lights out. They're going to love the community partnerships. They're going to love the real world learning that's happening. They're going to be way better off because there's no industry in the world that puts 30 people into a room and asks them to regurgitate information. It doesn't happen, right? They want innovators, problem solvers, communicators. You can ask your local industry if you want. There's a ton of research out there. Every time we ask, those are the things they want. Nobody ever says slope intercept form. So your kids want this, your teachers want this, you want this. It's a great way to lead. You're always going to have things to manage, right? There's always going to be teachers that are out. There's always going to be schedules. There's going to be district mandates. There's always going to be things to manage. But wouldn't it be great if you were leading? You're leading inspirationally. You're leading a movement that your teachers are behind and going with you. It's exciting work. So the idea of training leadership and classroom teachers together is part of the secret sauce. Because then year 4, you all are sustainable. You're moving on your own. We've got, again, all those resources that we've used to train your staff the first 3 years. They're yours. You have PBL certified teachers that we are coaching. We've got a coaching cadre. So if you've got a coach, which we highly recommend, we're coaching those coaches still. And your PBL certified teachers, they've got a community as well. And they've got all of our resources. So your high flyers are bringing your new people in. These are the deep dives for each one of these years. You can dive deeper into these uh, as we go. And we just want to let you know that schools out there are doing this. Schools just like yours, whether it's a large comprehensive district with 20,000 kids, if you're a small charter school, if you're Title I elementary, these are kind of your logos right here for each one of those. So wherever you're at, we've worked with you, whether it's rural, suburban, urban, small, large districts, we've been in there. And it's amazing what PBL can do to ignite your staff, which then ignites your kids. It's exciting work. So we do have PBL model schools across the country that you can go visit, but you're also probably that high flying leader that's asking, well, how do I become a PBL model school? Like that's what I really want. And you should, because when outsiders start to visit your school to see what you're doing, it changes the dynamic. It changes the mindset of your students and your teachers. The students start going, well, why are they here? And your teachers get to confidently and truthfully say, well, because you guys are doing amazing things. So they came all the way halfway across the country to come see your work. Oh, really? Right? And your teachers start to feel that too. And you feel that as a principal. And you would be surprised about the things that are not on your desk, the fires that you're putting out every day. When you get to, yes, manage, but also lead, a lot of those fires get put out. And now suddenly you are leading. You are leading the tour as a school comes in from across the country to come see your work. And people are taking pride in the work that they're doing. They're going above and beyond. Your teachers are, your students are too. And the district is supporting your work. It's amazing stuff. So we've got 4 different levels. We start you off with this foundational PBL implementation, and there's a rubric for all this. You do not every school will go through here to be a PBL model school. We do not give out candy. So uh, it's a rigorous process. But if you want to be a PBL model school, we have the path. Like we know that it works. We've proven that it works. It's the same thing for the PBL certification for your teachers. We've made it as streamlined as possible. But if you're not doing PBL at a high level, your teachers will not get certified. Like so, we're not giving out candy. When you see a PBL certified teacher, they are very good. When you go to one of our PBL model schools, they are very good. And when you go, you will feel a difference. That's the work that we're doing. So if that gets you excited that we're not just going to hand you a patch so that you can say, or a banner, because you do get a banner when you're PBL model school. We don't just hand those out. Those are schools that we're working with very closely, coaching very closely, customizing the work for exactly what they need so that they're operating at a very high level. Super proud of those schools. CSA New Tech is one of our schools it's in Columbus, Indiana. So it's in the middle of the country. And it is an amazing school. It was built for PBL. So I think it was an old oil shop or tire shop, and they revamped it. It's got like glass walls. It's got collaboration spaces for kids. A great staff room. So the staff is all in one room so that they can easily collaborate. They have like one giant table in the middle to collaborate. But then if you've got to do stuff on your own, they've got kind of their own cubicles to go grade or whatever they might need to do during their passing periods. Um, it's an amazing, amazing place. They've done a ton of stuff, whether it's building gardens or providing plays or making disc golf courses or creating a STEM conference in their town. Like the work they're doing is revolutionary. Like be the revolution. That is their call to action, and they're living it out. And they've been living it out for over a decade now. Kind of a flagship school. They've even made it through principal succession. So the founding principal has retired, well deserved, and they brought in the new principal who used to be a teacher. He went to be a principal somewhere else in the district and came back. So like super purposeful succession planning, and they are just still crushing it. So absolutely love that model. We'd love to hold design days there. So for your first leadership training, we often take you to a PBL model school. So you could go down to Babcock Ranch in Florida. You could come up to Columbus, Indiana, and hold them there. We could do them at your place too. It's really neat to hold them during school days at one of these locations because you can feel the school culture. You get to talk to the students, you get to talk to teachers, the administrators, and ask any questions you want. We kind of set up the panel as well, but you also get to just kind of wander. And then you go and pick up little nuggets and you come back and customize and plan for your specific school. So yes, we want you to share and collaborate, but we want you to be really selfish too and build a plan that works specifically for you. That's our goal because every school is a little bit different. So it'll be a great place to visit as well. Gosh, you'll love it. So if you want to talk, call magnify.com to schedule a call with us. And really want to say if you've got grant dollars or title dollars that you may not have later, the investment portion is super important because it's really about what happens after the grant's gone, right? You can't have work that is costing you $30,000 a year, $60,000 a year, and then you get to year four, it's like we'd like to do it, we don't have the grant anymore. Well, that's a bummer. So how do you create an investment that has ROI after the grant? That's one of our sweet spots. So we're currently working with school partners right now across the country, but we add new school partners just like you every year. And what we see is that teachers stay engaged and they stay at the school because the school culture has changed and they're on board. They have that autonomy, the mastery, and the purpose, and they want to stay there. And we see that principals are doing legacy work. This is where you want to stay at a school for 10 years because you love it. You want to retire here. Or even if you move on, you can look back and say, I got to help lead that work and it's still continuing because I put the structures, the processes in place. I groomed my replacement to be able to handle that same work. That's exciting stuff. And if that gets you excited, doing that legacy work and changing teacher lives, changing student lives, and really communities as well, those big picture ideas, if you're a dreamer and you're passionate and want to do this work, and we should talk because those are the folks that we love to work with. That's our ideal client and partner. So we really say partner because we do plan on partnering for, again, not just the 3 years, that's the investment portion, you're on your own, but you're never on your own, right? Even schools that we work with for 10 years, like we're still partnering. We have network meetings, we have coaching cadres that you're still a part of. It's just not that big initial investment of the first 3 years. That's a different process. So we'd love to talk to you. Go to callmagnify.com to set up a call today. Awesome. Thanks for joining me for this webinar. And we hope that the 3-year PBL plan resonates with you. And if it does, again, we absolutely want to talk. We have a ton of other resources we could direct you to as well if you're interested. But thanks for joining me today. I look forward to talking with you.